Good to see you there. We working all day today?
Yeah, so I'm back in,
I can't.
Back in the saddle.
back in the saddle. Nah, Heather's I was in there for about an hour.
Yeah.
They're trying to make you.
Okay. At 6 o'clock. Huh? Oh, absolutely, yeah. All right, 6 o'clock, I am going to call Public Health and Safety Committee meeting to order. I do have a couple items on the agenda and a management update. First item on the agenda, I am going to switch it around, does state human trafficking speaker, but our guest is not here right now. So I'm going to move to the Midnight Cry opioid fund request. We got submitted a request from Midnight Cry, which is a 501c3, asking for money from our opioid funding that we received. And we kind of, we had only given to a couple when it first came out because it was a new process, a new funding. And since then, we've had quite a few requests that have come in. So before we donate to anybody else at this time, we want to come up with a policy and procedure type for this plan. To be fair and come up with a process that allows any nonprofit, maybe a deadline date that can apply, and then kind of like how United Way does it, where you have a review and you look at everything submitted and you have so much money, and then you're fair and you can divvy it up depending on how many are submitted and by the cost, because we really do not have that much money in there. And we also wanted to look at if our police and fire are able to use the money for education, or if we would be able to, and we need to get a final request or ruling from our law director to see if that money can be used for the safety build. If any of that money could be used for something towards, the new building that they want to build. So if it could help cut a cost in an area for education, maybe a room that is an education room, maybe that could actually, lessen the cost of the price depending on how much money we receive. So I do want to thank them for submitting this. And once we decide exactly the way that we are going to use the money and come up with a policy and procedure, we will keep this, and we will decide, and this will, once we talk to the law director, and we'll continue in this committee and coming up with a plan. Okay? How does Matt and Tyler feel about this?
It makes sense on how we divide that up by just looking at all the groups that are looking for access to those funds.
And come up with a deadline, I think, too.
And prioritizing which one makes the biggest difference for the community, so.
Matt?
Yeah, I'm on board with that as well.
Okay. Okay, so we will go ahead and keep the opioid fund in this committee. And Chelsea, I will give this for you to keep, and we'll create a file for all the requests that we get in and date it. And it's already dated actually on the top. And once we come up with a guideline, then we will let everyone know too on what we decide to do. Okay? All right. All right. Our guest speaker is not here yet. I want to go to a management update as well. I would like to say a big congratulations to our police department for the success of shutting down a drug house across the street from the school. They worked very diligently, quickly once they found out about this. They heard about it and they were on top of it, and it was shut down. So I would like to, I don't know, Jeff, if there's anything you would like to say about that, or anything other? No? Okay. Yeah, no. Yeah, it was on West Main Street across from the school, so it's shut down. So that is something, I was just kind of wasting a little bit of time. Fire Chief, Mark, do you have anything you'd like to update?
Not this time. I'm back.
Yeah, he's back. Okay, well, I will say, what I can do is,
We can come back.
yeah, we can. Yeah, we'll go ahead and I'll put this in kind of recess. If our guest speaker shows up after the next meeting, then we'll revert back to public health and safety, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, so temporarily at 6:07, I'm going to put public health and safety on hold.
6:07, I'll start utility. Oh, okay, I was going by the order that was. Yeah, the packet is out. Okay.
It's
Yeah,
6:07.
I wasn't gonna let him over.
Thank you. 6:07, I'll call Streets and Sidewalks Committee meeting to order. 3 items on the agenda this evening. The first one is just to allow the mayor to send out requests for proposals for our 2025 fall tree planting. That.
Pardon?
Any questions, concerns on that?
The only concerns I have is they just look for where all the utilities are, whether they're in the ground or up above, pertaining to wires.
They take the sites into consideration before they plant those, whether it's a small or large growing tree. So they will do that. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
I have a concern about you talking to trees.
It's requested to speak into the microphone, your name and address.
Okay, my name is John Moore, live at 517 Day Street. And you talk about the trees, if you're paying these people, like Paul said, plant these trees, they should look before they plant. I got one in my neighbor's yard, my electric lines run right through the tree. So every time the wind blows and the tree sways, it's pulled the wires out of the side of my house twice. Now, to me, that's a problem.
Yeah, if you contact the city, we'll send the arborist out to look at it.
Yeah, yes, you did.
Okay.
I came out, looked at it and said, oh, there's nothing wrong with the tree. Well, damn, you know, there's something wrong somewhere because the wires are running through the tree. The tree's right underneath where the wires come across.
Okay.
I mean, he's either blind or he doesn't know much about trees.
Was somebody there when he stopped out? Did
I
talk to
didn't see
him?
I didn't see him. Paul was telling me about it.
Okay, so I,
Stopped out and told Paul that there's nothing wrong with the tree.
and normally that's what he looks at for the health of the tree, to see if it needs to be taken down or not, unless there's a specific request. So I don't know the specific situation. So if the issue is brought up that the limbs are blowing the wires and it's pulling out of the house, he would look for that and see if that needed addressed.
So I talked to him about it, and if he looked, it didn't look very good.
Okay,
It was given to the arborist's attention pertaining to the wires.
okay. Well, we can follow up with the arborist and see what he has to say, because,
Like Paul said, I mean, I don't have a problem with trees, but
yeah,
pulling the wires out of the side of my house, is not a good deal.
yeah. No, I get it. That's
are
a safety concern as well.
Are they electric wire? I've had this happen, and I've called, you can actually go on the website, or I guess you can call, and you can have them come out, and they'll actually prune the tree,
You're talking about
the
Ohio
electric
Edison?
company.
The
No,
Ohio
no, not
Edison.
the city.
Ohio Edison.
The whatever utilities, and for me, it was the electric company, Ohio Edison, or whoever they are now, Core,
Electric company come out and put the wires back on the side of my house, yes.
and they didn't,
The tree's still, it's still a problem.
yeah. Like I said, I don't know if you use the internet or anything, but you can, if you get the phone number on your electric bill, give them a call.
Well, would this the service director, would that be something your department would do and
Well,
talk
the
with them?
arborist will go out and look at it. If he decides that the tree needs to stay there, it'll stay there. Now, Ohio Edison will come out and trim that tree away from the wires if need be. So if we can call Ohio Edison and have them come out and look at it.
Yeah, if he doesn't have internet
What's your address,
access.
John? What's your address?
My address is 517.
517 Day? Okay.
But the tree is at,
Tree is in the neighbor's yard, right next door to me.
that would be to the south.
I mean, yeah, I agree with him, there's nothing wrong with the tree, but I guess I could make something wrong with it if that's what it takes to get it out of my water.
Yeah, my thing was if he doesn't have internet access, if the city could, help him figure out how to get a hold of, or whoever he needs to get a hold of, because most people don't know how to do that.
That's right, I'm not complaining, 74 years old,
I know, John.
no, I'm still old school.
I know.
That's why I'm here complaining now. I'm
Yeah.
saying, if somebody comes out and looks at it and says, oh, no, it's fine, nothing wrong, there's a problem.
How old's the tree, John?
Whenever they put it in, I don't know.
Okay, I'll take a look at it myself.
Yeah, if you come down and look and see, you can tell,
Okay. I'll come out myself, and look
I
at it.
know when you're coming, I'll be there.
Okay, yeah. I'll knock on your door. Okay, will do.
Yeah, I think, we need to do something, because we're gonna put more trees out there, which is great. As Paul said, you need to look up to it, the wires.
Yeah, they try
They're
to,
just concerned about what's underneath, what's up above. Because trees do grow up.
yeah, absolutely.
And this tree guy that our tax dollars are paying for, he hasn't figured that out, he better go back to school.
And again, I don't know exactly what he was looking at, why he's out there, but we'll
I
follow
don't
up.
either, because, yeah. And if you're more welcome, drive by and look at it, you'll see there's a problem.
Very good. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Any other concerns about the tree plantings? Not, we'll go ahead and move that item forward. The next item is another one for the community cleanup this year. And again, this is to allow the mayor to send out requests for proposals and to accept, I believe, the best lowest bid. We're hoping that everything goes through, and then the cleanup is sometime in May. I think before they've done each ward a different weekend to make it manageable, so.
Yep.
Once we have that information, we'll get that out to the residents as well.
And we did tentatively had a few people that were actually interested.
Yes,
correct?
absolutely, yep, yep.
And that's a
absolutely.
huge relief, because in the past, we only had the
struggle.
one, yeah, so that's it. People will be very happy, including myself.
All right, we'll move that item forward. And then the last item is, again, to send out RFPs for our annual pavement marking and striping program. Any questions on that? We'll go ahead and move that item forward as well. No management update this evening. I will adjourn Streets and Sidewalks at 6:13.
And I'm going to pick up, back up to Public Health and Safety, since I see that the guest speaker has arrived, with the continuation of Public Health and Safety at 6:14. Let me get there's that. Okay. Okay, our guest speaker tonight, I'm going to give Cheryl Wood the honor in introducing her. She works with her quite a bit.
I would like to introduce Dr. Teresa Merriweather and Mr. M. Both dear friends, but very, very well educated on the human trafficking and massage parlor topics that we've been discussing.
And Cheryl had given me some information tonight, and I believe she made copies for everyone with the ordinance that we have been working on with the massage establishments, and some areas that are highlighted in red that she had added to tighten up, and correct me if I'm wrong, since I'm just seeing this now. So tighten up where we have written and kind of places that she saw that needed a little bit of attention. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let you talk, and then we can talk about this.
Hi, yes. So I'm Dr. Teresa Merriweather. My expertise is human trafficking. I'm a survivor and content and subject matter with regards to human trafficking. My colleague, Mr. Wasila Magnoni, and Cheryl Atwood, we sit on the Ohio Attorney General's Commission's Legal and Legislative Subcommittee with regards to human trafficking. So with your zoning and stuff, what's going on with these massage parlors, let me first and foremost say that I'm totally against the massage parlors being here in the city of Ravenna. Okay, so we've reviewed on the Legal and Legislative Subcommittee the verbiage that you have within the City of Ravenna's ordinance and zoning regarding massage establishments. Okay, so we edited and made some changes and things to it for your document, and then also you want to make sure, and I would hope that you make sure when this goes through that you also have some zoning updates as a follow through. So follow through zoning updates. Okay, and then my colleague was gonna say something else.
So, when you think about these ordinances, is also, oh, I thought my voice is deep enough, is to deter the activity, to make the certain restrictions or make what you have to go through to obtain the permit would deter somebody or anyone who is has any ill-gotten means of doing
Right.
anything. You know what I mean? Overall, it does. Some of the verbiage does have to be tightened up. You guys are reading the same things that I have here. But I think that it's unacceptable, but it's very preventable on the front end to stop these situations from happening. We don't want this to become a hot spot where anybody thinks they can just set up shop and do what they want to do, and something severe doesn't happen to everybody that's involved with making that happen. Even though you're not running the massage parlor, if you read that her stance on the landlords, are you aware of who or what industry you're letting into your building and how that'll fall back on you? It may also deter them from having those type of operations here.
Right, and I like that where we could actually hold the landlords much more accountable for renting out to such an establishment. Is that something that Cheryl had mentioned to me?
Yeah, we want to make sure that the punishment fits the crime, if that makes sense. We want to make sure that the punishment fits the crime for this. And then you got to remember that human trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar criminal industry, right? Worldwide. So traffickers are very smart. In this business, they have marketers, right? Appraisers and everything. So they're very, very smart, but we have to be smarter than them. And so that's why we're here to help you guys here be smarter than them, the strategies that you need to do to deal with this. And when really, like I said, I wish that there would be no massage parlors here.
Oh, I agree.
You know, but we have to go ahead and move forward. And moving forward, and I thank you guys for moving forward, helping, you know, this city helping to lead in the forefront for the state of Ohio with these type of problems that we're having regarding the massage parlors within cities. So yeah, but moving forward, we got to be smart. And so here's a strategy right here. Okay? Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I appreciate any, feedback that anyone brings to us because, yeah, it was important to us to bring this to the committee because when, we were victims here from it, and thankful that our police, acted very aggressively and with the combination of the fire department and the building department, we were able to shut them down pretty quick. Not as probably like the next day, like most of us would have liked, but we were able to shut them down. And that's kind of like the red flag that went off, like, okay, there's, no way I want to see this happen again. And I don't want our downtown turning into places that these things think it's okay to come, So I want to have a safer community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Before you leave, so I've marked up some of what you suggested as changes. We have this code already under consideration by City Council. The only thing I'm not sure about is your last comment about the penalties. Do you have any specific suggestions about what the penalties should be?
So I would want to take this back to our Legal and Legislative Subcommittee to add more. Because one of the things that they said was that they were a bit confused, and we were all confused about the penalty section of the chapter, and it seems as if it's not completed. So if we could come back to it And then we could probably meet one day next, we could, as a legal and legislative subcommittee. I think we meet actually next week. Is it next Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah,
20th.
so we meet next Thursday, so then we could put this on the table, so we could finish this and we could talk about the penalty.
Okay,
little bit
if you
more.
just want to send us something
Yeah.
via email, that would be great.
Yep, so we'll follow back up with
And
you
we
guys.
we really appreciate you taking a look at this.
Yep.
It's hard sometimes for us to know all the components of something that this doesn't just affect Ravenna, it affects so many other places. And it's hard to find, qualified experts to confer with. So we deeply appreciate you coming here tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm thankful, especially Cheryl, as with regards to coming in and with the real estate agents training for Ravenna. Then I'm scheduled in 2 days, Wednesday, Portage County, your Metropolitan Housing Authority, they will all be trained by me, what they're looking for with regards to human trafficking, and then hopefully we'll get in these school systems, the training. And then we've already got some of your police officers that's coming to the training as well. So trying to secure your community, because a lot of people will think it doesn't happen here. If you're not trained to what to look for, you don't know. And then that causes injustice for those victims that are in those different establishments who want out too. All right? Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, one of the things in number 1 is something that she added was the littlest thing is a valid license and the respective name. So, where it's highlighted in red, not just a current license, but a valid. So little things like that, I guess, can make a big difference. So I'm excited to finally get this to put to rest along with Christina's area. And if we can get this and, even have it by next week. Again, have our law director look at it and hopefully still can just keep moving along because, yeah, the sooner we have it in place,
The better.
the better, absolutely. Okay, thank you so much, and I will wrap up this committee at 6:25.
6:25, I'll start the Utility Committee meeting. The first thing on the agenda is a water line project on the streets of Central, Freedom, Spruce, and a portion of Walnut. The water line project will consist of replacing the water lines themselves, valves, hydrants, and if any sidewalks are disturbed, those will be replaced. And there's not an exact date of starting, it just depends, if this is passed, then it'll go from there. But this is one of these things that's on the list, one of these things that when it's replaced, it decreases the chances of water main breaks in these areas, is just one area in particular. So if there are no comments or questions pertaining to this, then the next thing on the agenda are chemical bids, and these are.
Paul?
Oh,
let me-
yes.
Let me just quickly add.
Yes.
So the tracking sheet is authorizing the mayor to advertise.
The bids,
The tracking sheet also is not, it's not requested to be an emergency.
No,
However, we want to advertise in May. Typically, this grant and loan comes available in early July. So we want to be able to sign a contract as soon as the money is released and start the project as soon as possible, which would be end of July. But
Does that mean you want to add an emergency clause?
no, we don't need
Oh.
to add an emergency as long as we keep this moving forward.
Well, yeah, there's no indication about skipping the 3 readings. That's just something we normally do anyway, so. But, Mr. Boskin, if you could just make sure there's a vote to pass this forward before we move on amongst your committee.
I'm in
Yes.
favor of moving it forward.
Yep. Mr. Maravich?
okay,
Yeah.
great. And the next thing are the chemical bids for the water treatment and wastewater treatment department facilities. These are the chemicals that they need every year for the departments to operate efficiently. And these are required by the EPA.
I'd say move it forward.
Great.
here.
Necessity. The gravity thickener truss arm replacement. Now, I'll say one thing about this. These are original in the gravity thickener. Trying to think when that was put in. I keep thinking maybe 82. If I'm wrong, I know it's real close to that year. So the only reason I'm saying that, it's original. It's not as if it's only 10, 15 years old. So I believe that it's a critical thing. And I found out that the new ones will be made out of stainless, so they're going to hold up very well. And there's a local company, well, they're not exactly in town, Workman. It's in the process for them to give a quote to install these when they get here. And these arms will be coming on by semi-trailer.
What does a gravity thickener do? Just to refresh my
Thickens
memory.
gravity.
Clearly, but,
Separates the water from the sludge.
Sludge, yes.
gotcha. Good stuff.
Lawrence, this requires an appropriation, correct?
It does.
So there's going to be another tracking sheet to follow.
Yes, Amy Wilson submitted that today. She does need the money to be appropriated for this project as well.
Yeah, so there is money there, but that part just is in the process too.
Yeah, she wants it sooner rather than, we'll be doing the permanent budget in March, but she really needs the money sooner than that. So
Because
she needs that to be appropriated.
It just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. She needs to get it on order. There was an 8 to 10 week lead, I believe, on getting those arms.
Yes.
So does this need an emergency? From what you're saying, does this need an emergency clause? Because she did not indicate it on this.
I believe it should. Paul,
Yes,
do you
it-
agree?
Check the
Yes.
tracking sheet that you,
It,
yeah, put it in there.
yes, it definitely needs it, because it's something you don't want to wait months for to get it going. Since it's part of the process.
Move it forward.
Same, with an emergency clause intended for it.
For this, I would say yes, for sure. And since I have some understanding how this does work. Okay, great. So then I'll end a utility committee meeting at 6:29.
We have an unusual circumstance where the chair and one of the other members of our planning committee are not here tonight. So I've asked Ms. Michael to chair the committee, and if we could get a couple of volunteers. Our code does allow for such an event that whoever's present at the time of the committee can volunteer to serve on that committee. Now, it's really moot because there's nothing to move forward, so I don't think there's going to be any voting involved, but if we could officially get a couple of volunteers.
I'll do it.
Certainly. I'll
Okay,
sit as
thank you.
alternate.
Okay, it is 6:30. It is 6:30, sorry about that. And I am filling in for Christina West, Planning Committee. I'm going to call to order. First item for consideration is easement with PMHA. Last I remember, we hadn't had any contract with them.
Right, so we have a document, an easement document.
Okay,
I'm going to reach out to Mr. Smino to see if he's interested in more of a license agreement, similar to what was done at Guido's.
okay.
Hopefully by next Monday or next Tuesday, we'll have a document in place.
Now, when you say a licensing agreement, are you just saying like a lease for that small
Correct,
amount of property?
yes, a
Okay,
lease.
just to clarify.
And This, just for everyone knows, it's so that they can put the air conditioner on.
Generator.
Generator, okay. It was the generator on our back piece of property that connects to the Etna House. Okay, so in case anyone forgot, that is what we're discussing. Okay, so this, we can move forward as long as.
This is already on the agenda. We
Okay.
moved this forward.
And just FYI, typically, if there's an easement, it's unnecessary to have a lease because the easement gets filed with the county record.
Correct, but the document that they submitted doesn't have like an if this or then this. We quit using our generator, it goes away. They just, basically a rectangle with a legal description. We need to draft that out.
Okay. Okay, we'll move this forward. Next item is the design review guidelines. So, Bob, where are we with that? I have not,
So there's going to be a presentation next week.
Okay.
Or public hearing, I should say. We did receive information from SHPO that they accept what we've submitted, except there's an address change, which is minor. Their own address was, they're no longer, their history connection is their title. They wanted us to change their title on our documents. That's being done. But
Okay.
other than that, it's complete.
okay. So the public hearing is when?
Tuesday.
Tuesday at 6 o'clock.
At 6 o'clock?
Not tomorrow, next Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to have a public hearing for design review at 6 o'clock next Tuesday. So I encourage anyone that has any questions, any concerns, to present them before council that night.
We have a comment from,
Larry, go ahead and speak.
Larry Salinius, 123 North Walnut. We just have one concern. We've agreed with the substance of the guidelines, but we're concerned about the use of the word shall 241 times. So we will want council to consider the fact that guidelines are not laws, they're just advice, suggestions, and instructions. Some people don't understand the difference, but we think all of those uses of the word shall should be changed to should. Thank you.
And so you think shall is much more,
Too
No, no,
specific.
Forceful language.
it's forceful?
A legal forceful term.
yes.
Okay.
Shall means must.
Okay,
So, so tonight was meant in this process to be a chance for council, should it decide, or any member decide to weigh in on the desired review guidelines. I would encourage Mr. Salinius to bring that comment up next week at this public hearing.
we did bring that up when, I know council, we brought that up, that question up, because it was brought to our attention the last time we had talked about that. And the reason that it was given is because that was changed, wasn't it changed back then to shall? And that's why it was done, because there was, question before about that. How did the word ever get changed? Does anyone actually know?
I don't know
I was
that the word,
told by Ted Manfres that the consultant asked him what they, and maybe the rest of the design review commission, which word they wanted. And they wanted shall, they want as much force as possible.
Amy,
I don't believe it's appropriate for the guidelines, but I just want to make sure you're thinking about it.
Thank you, Larry.
so, when we had the presentation a little over a year ago from Perspectus, we had a little discussion in this area. The guidelines, which is what's under discussion right now by council, are sort of, that's a huge document, but it sort of describes and gives input to the Design Review Commission members about how they should consider changes within the historic district. To them, at that time, I'm not sure if it influenced what word they chose eventually, but they basically said, those are guidelines, those are things that inform a decision. What really determines whether or not something has to be complied with or voluntary or whatever you want to call it, is Chapter 1434. That's where the teeth exists for anything. So the guidelines are more of a helpful guide for those members. And within the scope of those guidelines, they can make a final determination about whether or not they want to give a certificate of approval. So I think what Larry saw, I don't know that it matters, is my point with the guidelines. What will matter for council is what we decide to do with Chapter 1434. And that's something Larry has been working on and will be a topic of discussion next month when we start that process. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And Bob, do you know if the Historic Preservation Group that is providing this grant, care which word we use?
They've approved what was submitted.
Which
with the
has
word-
shall.
Which has the word
Because that's what
shall.
was in there, correct?
I believe that's what they approved. yes.
So if it's actually 1434 that determines, what is the big deal whether we have shall or should?
That's what I'm saying. I don't
Why
think it
can't they
matters.
use should if it makes some people feel uncomfortable and have shall?
Well, keep in mind, design review is a commission, so they have power, meaning they can make decisions. And then, of course, there's an appeal process. So you take the word shall out of a document, there's no power. Excuse me, there's no power.
Or it gives them
So
greater
that's-
flexibility, right?
Not, I mean,
Not in the as not intended perhaps for the purpose.
and then you could look at it that way. yeah. So by removing power from the commission, you're decommissioning them. So that's something that city council is going to have to decide. If you want to not give them power to make decisions. Now, for instance, the park board is not a commission, it's a board. So, but then planning commission is a commission and board of zoning appeals is a commission, you know, so same thing with design review. And I know that we've been working on this now for almost 4 years, and the word shall just keeps popping up. And whatever council decides is obviously what's going to happen. But you remove the word shall, then you don't have a commission, and you just have an advisory board. And there probably won't be folks left to advise. But who knows? It's up to council.
We have another comment from the visitor.
Louis Dudek, 704 East Main Street. I'm also vice chairman of the design review, okay? Shall is in the ordinance, 1434. The guidelines refer to the ordinance. The guidelines help people who don't know where to go, what to do, and how to process making changes if they want to do their properties, okay? It's my understanding that if you you change it to should, it has no enforcement. You heard a young lady talk about, the punishment for the crime. Well, if there's a crime, there has to be a punishment, and should is the punishment. It's in 1434. You're going to have to totally redo 1434. And that's not what we're asking. We're just asking that these guidelines need to be updated. And we think this is a valuable tool for people that are buying in the district to know where to go and how to seek help if they do it. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
How was it in the old set of guidelines?
Pardon?
How was that word used in the old set of guidelines that we're trying to update?
I think it was used 47 times, or,
Word shall?
Yeah.
48 times.
In 1434, there's a section, and that word is in there 40-some times.
Larry counted them.
Yeah, Larry
I
might
don't
have
know.
counted them. Okay?
Larry was shaking his head no, so I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He said 47. I
Yeah,
have no
it's-
idea how many there are, but, I mean, I know there are a certain number on a certain page in 1434, okay?
And
Going from the
Our
40s
current-
up to over 200 times in the new
Well,
guidelines?
so keep in mind, our current our current guidelines are, are they 17 pages or 14 pages, something like that? Then the new is over 100. So,
Yeah, I was just
But you
wondering
guys-
how it was, if it carried over to the,
so I would
The new
challenge,
ones, or if
I would challenge council to read the two documents. And obviously, 100 and some pages is a lot to read through. There's a lot of pictures, over half of it's pictures. And it's a really nice document. And then form your own opinion of, you know, if your neighbor was interested in doing something like this, or if a house was for sale that needed some upkeep and a landlord bought it with the specific intent of putting renters in there. And that's what we deal with, is trying to get those folks to come into compliance. 'Cause we can't stop them on Main Street if they want to rent their house, you know, as a rental. So, you know, I'd say form your own opinion and
So,
good golly, we've been doing this for 4 years now. We've got to move on.
Mr. Harper, I have the document in front of me. There are 65 instances of the word shall. And not all of them have to do with, you know, property. It might have to do with, you know, the members shall be appointed and so forth. But I'm pretty sure what we have currently under consideration when it comes to using either word shall or should is consistent with what we've had in the past. But like I said, the guidelines aren't what dictates the outcome of any application. It's what's in our code. And that's where I think we're gonna have to spend more time on this issue. I don't think it matters what's in the guidelines, and I think, my personal opinion is shall should stay. And if that's what was approved by the Design Review Commission, that's what I support. And if that's what Prospectus and the state authority prefer, that's what I support too. But ultimately, I don't think it matters that much.
He has another comment.
Larry?
I just think everything Bob said and Lou said confuse laws with guidelines. And I haven't read the current guidelines recently, but I don't think the word shall is in the current guidelines. It's in the law, chapter 1434. I think
Well,
Matt brought up a good question. I don't believe shall is in the current guidelines.
I'm using word, and historic character of a property shall be retained and preserved. I mean, you know, it's pretty consistent with what's in the current guidelines. Deteriorated historic features shall be repaired rather than replaced. It doesn't say should, it says shall. And that's the current, these are the current guidelines.
The current meaning, not the revised, the ones we're
Not the
working-
ones from
not from
prospectus,
Okay,
the ones that are
current
currently
yes.
in operation.
Yeah, the whole shall and should thing seems that, you know, we have been working, you know, so hard with this. It's been a lengthy process, and I know you're not going to always please everyone, but I know we've tried very hard so that everybody, because both sides have had, you know, points on their end, and I admire both parties. I know Larry and Cliff have spent tremendous time researching this. And, you know, I'd like to, you know, get to a happy medium. And I know that word was brought up a lot of times in the past when we questioned it. So I just don't want things to, you know, get tied up if there are places that that word does really not, if there are certain areas that is bothersome, that it's there, that maybe it doesn't have to be there. I don't know. I'm not a legal expert. I'm going to have to compare the two and look at the two and try to figure out what is being changed and where it's really bothersome, I guess, because I don't know what else to say. I hate to see frustration out of it, and I know you're going to have people, like I said, that aren't always going to be happy. But again, we want to see this because of the time that we've put into it and the money. I do take everybody's opinion in consideration, and mainly, I want our businesses and our homeowners in the historic district to be happy and to be thriving. That's the end goal, I think. Mrs. Miller, yes.
My name is Cynthia Miller. I live at 727 East Main Street. We also have a commercial property at 309 East Main Street, both properties in the historic district. My only concern with the shall and the should is everything right now, how long have we had a design review? 40 years? Has that changed the character of Ravenna, made it better? I don't think so. My bottom line would be to dissolve the committee and try something completely new. No one's coming to Ravenna to see matching houses. No one's coming to see a modern aesthetic of signs that were taught in architectural schools 40 years ago. Those signs are not historically correct. None of them are. We have to concentrate on the community itself and making it a thriving community, build up the neighborhoods, bring people to live in Ravenna, and then the businesses will come because you're going to have a captive audience of customers. As far as design review, I don't think it should exist at all. I know that's not going to happen. I think it should be shall instead of should, because again, these are all modern design aesthetics. They have nothing to do with historic character of this town. Bob has a great set of ordinances that he can enforce laws if there's something truly egregious. I think that this design review committee ought to, or committee, and it is a commission, ought to say shall. That's my opinion. Thank you for listening.
Any comments from this committee?
I'm looking forward to see the turnout that we get at the public hearing.
Same. I'm looking forward to reviewing the documents again as well.
I feel like there's a lot of times with the historic guidelines and, different things.
Is your mic closer?
Shall is more easily enforceable, but I also think that it can be more difficult. So, curious to see what the public has to say about it.
Tyler?
I need to review the documents again just to refresh myself, to be prepared for the public hearing, and looking forward to feedback and giving my input at that point as well. But making sure that the properties are preserved, I think, is like, I served on the Historical Society Board, and Ravenna does have a very rich and fascinating history. And when you lose a historic building like the high school, it's a little bit of a loss. Or even if you look at like the Walnut Street School, if you've looked at how the facade was in the past, it was a much more architecturally impressive building, and it really got kind of cut down to pretty much a box. And so you do lose some character with things. So with that in mind, preserving that unique history that we have, I think, is important for the community as a value, but being able to maintain those structures in a good way that isn't like cost prohibitive and is leveraging newer technologies to keep the same if it's possible, I think would be a good priority.
Anybody else would like any input? Matt or you guys, Paul?
Well, I think shall and should, it just depends on certain situations, because I know in certain buildings, when certain things need replaced, certain things can be hard to come by, depending on how the building is structured and things of that nature. So that would just, if it's enforced quite a bit, sometimes it could really drive up a cost, depending on certain materials,
Okay.
on how they were built. You go back 100 and some years ago, some of the materials aren't as easily accessible. So those are my comments for tonight.
I don't think there's a lot of horsehair plaster out readily available, so.
Well, some of those that was used a long time ago.
Maybe Mr. Seaman could have some, I think. Okay, we'll go on then to the next item, to the charter amendment petition signatures. And that, I think,
Well,
I don't
before we
have
get to that,
anything.
we have been keeping the safety
Oh,
buildings on
sorry,
this
I didn't
committee.
mean to skip
I
that.
don't know that there's an update other than there's a meeting. I
There's a
forget
meeting
when-
on the 18th.
On the
Yeah.
18th,
Yes,
for the subcommittee.
for the subcommittee, yes. Other than that, I don't really have any updates at this time.
I think Christina just wanted to keep this on so that it wouldn't be lost, but you guys are having a committee meeting on the 18th.
Correct.
And I know at the last meeting, Frank had brought up some other communities that had had some success. I don't know if you guys had any more information or are able to follow up on that,
I
but
do have some information.
you
It's
can
on-
share it at the subcommittee.
Yeah, we'll talk
Okay.
about it at the subcommittee meetings. It was on a few municipalities that did some different levies and had some success. so,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Okay, going on to the next item, to the charter amendment for the petition signatures.
I put that on the agenda. And we'll move this on till next month, because there's certainly no urgency, but this is the beginning of our reelection season, and I feel for the ward members, being a former representative from Ward 2, and it just strikes me that when it comes to gathering signatures on a petition, ward representatives who only represent a quarter of the city have to gather as many signatures as the at-large positions, which is 50. My suggestion, and it goes along, I think it's consistent with Streetsboro, will be to suggest that ward members only have to collect 25.
But then, the pay is all the same across the board as well.
Well, I don't
For,
think this has anything to do with pay.
but I'm just saying, I think that, as far, the consistency of the signatures and everything has been pretty much
Across
the board. So,
Right, but my point is an equity issue, that the ward members cannot get signatures from 3/4 of the city. They are restricted to 1/4 of the city to collect signatures. And it's proportional, is what I'm saying. And, well, I mean, look, like I said, I'd rather not push this forward. We got plenty of time. A charter amendment would have to go on a ballot, and our residents would vote on that. So there's no urgency to this, since there's not a full committee of
No,
permanent
absolutely.
members. My suggestion is we just move this on till next month.
Fine by me.
yeah, I'm just chairing the meeting. I just think that it gets them out in their ward to meet people, talk to people, and it's been going on for years where they've had to do that.
So maybe we should up the at-large to
Hey,
100?
I've got about, you know what? If that's what it took, and I have no problem talking to the people. I do it all myself anyway.
Yep.
So I have no problem. When you're in it to serve the people, you do what you have to do.
Well, that's a key thing right there.
Exactly.
Like I said, we'll put that on next month.
Okay, seeing else that there's nothing to talk about for planning, at 6:53, I will end Planning Commission.
We're done for tonight.